hello, back again.
We're back again. Hello, everyone.
Attention span.
Yes.
Right, what I was going to say was something else I've noticed about the whole coming out of the organisation of Jehovah's Witnesses. When I've now actually realised through the last few years, my attention span was basically non-existent. What do I mean by that? Well, for example, when Mark's talking to me about something, and I don't mean to do this, and it's not so, my mind wanders.
Yeah.
And it can go on to so many different subjects, and I will then flick back into the conversation and think, what did he just say? He's just asked me a question and I didn't hear it. Not because I didn't want to hear it, but I was thinking to myself, I've always done that. And you know, I even went on the ministry. I'd knock on a door, and a householder would come to the door, as they do, and they don't open it up, and we'd start talking. Bye bye, Mr. Bye. They would go and see, look, attention span. See what I mean? God. Anyway, yeah. So I'd knock on the door. The person would come to the door, and I'd have in my mind where I wanted to take the conversation. Okay, so the person would be on the door, and it would be like a Charlie Brown moment where you go what, and I'd be what, and I'd be, but have you seen this scripture? They have nothing to do with what they've just said. No. Because my mind was focusing on where I wanted to go with the conversation, so I would find it really difficult to hear what they were saying and keep my mind occupied on where I needed to go.
And one of the things that we worked out that you're trained in the Kingdom Halls to become extremely narrow-minded in how you think about everything, in how you confront everything with a smile, with a zip across your mouth, and your brain then switches off. Yeah. It completely switches off. Mine
does, and it's like, for example, it really rung home to me last year when we went, Stephen and Sam, when we all went to London and we did the conference and everything, and it was something he said to me, and I went, that's it. And I mentioned it to a couple that have recently come out, and they went, that's it, it wasn't us, and they hugged each other, and it was the most funniest thing I've ever seen. But what do I mean? Well, he said that at the Kingdom Hall, they hypnotise you into a state of boredom.
Yeah.
And I went, that's it. Oh my goodness.
Now, before anybody starts jumping off the gun, you know, when we're talking about hypnotism here, we're talking about this
your
trance.
Your brain sleeps. Your brain, it's trained.
You slip, as soon as you sit down from that songbook and you've said your prayer, you sit down and you slip into a lower sense of thinking. Yeah. You're not thinking
I'm
at
there.
all.
You've made a rush to get to the Kingdom Hall. You haven't even had tea. You've shoved on your suit or your dress or whatever it is. You've gone to the Kingdom Hall. You've said hello. You've been love bombed. You sit down and you go boof. Yeah. And then the people from the platform, it's the same thing. They don't go outside the box or the material. If you, for example, in the Watchtower, you have your article, you've got, say, 22 paragraphs you've got to get through with questions and answers, and you will be fed the answer in the paragraph. So your brain's not having to think very much, because literally the answer to the question that they've read is there. Yeah. And it's word for word. So what you do is you look at that answer and you highlight it with your marker pen, as you do, and you can maybe change a word to mean the same thing, but it then becomes your own words. So you, rather than put the question and the answer in your own words, you're actually using the same words, you're just moving them around a bit. So you sound really spiritual, because how I know that they would always want that answer answered properly, or the way that it was written, is because they go round the Kingdom Hall until they got what they wanted. Yeah. And if a brother or sister said they went off and they'd done research and they'd managed to get this really fantastic answer that brought it in from another Watchtower article or whatever, they wouldn't be happy with that. They would carry on going round the Kingdom Hall until they got what they wanted from that, as it was, word for word, in the paragraph.
Yeah. Right down to the sentence.
Right down to the sentence.
And that's all they were looking for, you know. And they say, "Oh, well done for doing all of that research." But what does the paragraph actually say? What does the paragraph say?
So anyway, and then also at assemblies, I think we have said this before in another video, but it so brings it back. Do you remember sitting at the assembly, and there'd be what Charlie Browning from the platform, and your brain would be wandering onto shopping lists and what that brother down there is doing, and that seagull that's walking on the thing, and all these different distractions. Your mind would wander because you're bored. Your mind has gone asleep, and that's why they say keep taking notes, because you're reaffirming that boredom. You're literally repetitive. So anyway, you're bored, and then it would come to announcements, and say, for example, it would be you've just come back from, or you're just going to go off to lunch, so they'd get everybody stood up to do a song, and they would want you to listen to the announcements. So they'd say, brothers, if you could remain standing.
Remain standing.
They did not want you to sit down to go to sleep again. They wanted you to hear about when you come out of the assembly, turn left, not right, make sure you pick up the litter that's around
Contribution
your seats.
boxes are here, here and here. Now that you're standing, we want you to hear this.
Yeah, and now you can sit. Why can't you sit? Why couldn't you sit for those announcements? Because it doesn't take very long for people to sit, because it's going to take exactly the same amount of time as it would after the announcements to sit and settle. So it's because they want you to hear that bit. They want you to stay focused.
It's a very clever science that goes into controlling masses of people. And one of the things you do is whip them all up with this emotional music before the convention starts, and you need to be in your seats when you hear the music starting, and you're getting all bubbly and all emotional with it. And then, of course, when it's this, now please remain standing, we have things to tell you.
Oh, yes, I'm waiting. What's this then?
It's a no-brainer now that we can see it. And especially when they start talking about contributions and about making sure that you're not wearing too much perfume and
I mean, you look
like
at that new cartoon about the Sophia cartoon from the JW.org where she got this coin and she's dreaming about an ice cream and she wants to eat this ice cream, and then she sees her mum putting her money in the contribution box, and she decides that that's what she wants to do with her 10p or whatever it was, or quarter or dime or whatever it is that she's holding. I'm going to go and I'm going to put that. What? You're taking ice cream off kids now. So you're not allowing children to not feel guilty about having an ice cream.
So a child now looks at that and starts taking that in at a young age and thinks, well, rather than me have an ice cream, I'm going to put my money in the contribution box. And if they don't, then they're going to feel very guilty in here. And also, all part of the plant. And that guilt then grows and grows as they get older, to make them say, well, I haven't donated anything for so long now, I'm going to have to start putting some money into this, because look, everybody else is. Guilt. And this, it's all part of this inculcation, this demanding, this indoctrination that's repetitive that goes on, talking about being absent-minded. It's not just about being absent-minded, it's being, you're trained not to think anymore.
And that's why I say that I'm now realising that my attention span, I am concentrating on and listening to people and actually hearing what it is they're saying. It's not that I'm not interested, it's just I've been trained all my life to not really listen, to have my opinion and what I want to say, and I switch off because I've been hypnotised into boredom my entire life. So for the first time in my life, I'm actually awake, and I can hold a conversation and I can hear what that person said, and I will remember what that person said, and I will be able to retain it, because my brain is finally alive, and it's little cells going, I really want to learn more, I want to hear more, I'm not bored anymore, I want to be me. And that's what I'm trying to say about attention spans and things. And my mind is still live and wild in that I will go off on different subjects, but it's exciting. It's not my attention span now being really low. It's my brain wants to learn so much about everything all at once that it's a different type of attention span.
Here's another example of where the brain just switches off. And this is a question to anybody out there that watches this video now. Do you remember when you were doing your watchtower preparation, and you'd be sat at home and you might have half an hour or whatever, and you'd start getting colouring it in with all the colours of the rainbow, underlining it, making it, and putting in notes on the side. Here's a question for you. 2 weeks later, after you've done that watchtower, did you ever remember what it was 2 weeks or even a week from the previous? Do you remember?
I didn't even remember after the meeting,
no,
to be honest.
Because as soon as you close that watchtower up, in most cases, you just forget about that indoctrination you just had, but it's gone in. It's gone, well, believe me, it's gone in. But you've forgotten about it. And then you're on to the next one. and then the next one, and then the next one, and you don't remember these things, but it's gone in.
Yeah.
And it's just training you to go to sleep, not to have to think, not to use your critical thinking skills. It's taken that away from you, and it's given you a new comfort blanket. You don't have to think anymore. You just have to follow what these paragraphs are saying, read the question, and then find the answer in that simplistic paragraph. Bingo, they've got you. You are a drone from that moment onwards. You become the Ubered. You're in there, and you just don't think for yourself. After a few years, you even start dribbling because you're not thinking properly anymore. You know? And yet these people that take these Watchtower magazines so seriously.
Oh, that was the other thing.
Yes, go on.
Sorry, no, sorry.
See, her mind's gone.
Yeah, no, that was the other thing we were saying the other day about Bible studies. Remember when we were sat waiting for Jim and Morna?
Yeah.
We were sat talking, we were in a waiting room. And we were talking about when somebody's got a Bible study, okay, and they've had this Bible study for 30 years. They go and take them out. Well, it's not a Bible study, it's like a return visit stroke Bible study.
It's on their route, a route call.
And they go and they take, because I said I didn't have many calls because I hated doing return visits. And so I used to love going on other people's because it was easy, what I called easy ministry.
Easy ministry,
But I never really had any of mine. And I used to think, how do these people do it? They've got study, Bible track, return visits they've had for donkey's years, but these people still remain that. Calls. That's all they ever are, is just taking the Watchtower magazine to them and taking it to them every 2 weeks. It was really another load of magazines, you could write it down and that was it. But these people either never really contributed for them anyway, so these magazines were free, but they're never going to become Jehovah's Witnesses. Wake up. They don't want to know. They're humouring you in taking, you think you've got this amazing call that you've had for years. Why do you think it's still a call? Why do you think they are not actually Jehovah's Witnesses? Baptised, dunked,
30
everything.
years.
You've got to start realising they don't want to know.
No. It's a lifetime.
They're not interested.
No, it's fascinating, isn't
it? It is fascinating how people are so proud at having calls that are so many years
old.
But
they won't give up these calls because this actually allows them to have their monthly report.
And when the circuit overseer comes to visit, they've got people they can take them out. See, look, aren't I good? Look at this. And then the circuit overseer's wife or whatever will say, what a good call that is. No, it's not. What, just because they take the magazines off you, or you can place books with them and they'll just take them. You can write it on your slip and it looks great. You look how many books so-and-so's placed. Look how many magazines. Yes, because they're just taking them off them.
It makes us realise now that I wonder how long this so-called door-to-door...
I reckon they'll stop it soon.
It's dying a death. It's been dying a death for decades, but now they're just stood there like this. I mean, we were outside Leicester Square in London at the the tube station in London a few months ago. And I watched these witness women stood there with a book like this. She had it held up like this with a firm, fixed smile, and thousands of people were coming through, and then they were just holding it there. And they also had the memorial leaflets as well. And then people would just grab one, thinking, "What is this?"
And they'd be ended up on the floor.
And then we looked afterwards, and the street was just
littered,
ripped up books as well,
and the leaflets
in London, and litter everywhere.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is disgusting.
Are you going to go down round and clear all that up?
Yeah, no. They just moved on. Yeah. We waited. These people moved on because we were there for a reason. We wanted to expose it, and that'll be out in a future video later on. But when these people moved on to another part of Leicester Square, we looked back at the street and it was strewn with litter.
Yeah.
Their litter. Their litter.
But they'd have called that a successful morning.
Yeah.
Really? What, littering the streets of London is successful, is it?
Yeah.
Fair play.
So once again, these people are not trained to critically think, but just there to be drones of the society. And why do we know that? Well, because we were like them.
Yeah.
So we're not critical of them as a person.
No.
We're critical of them as what they're representing.
Yeah, and also talking about they're changing their whole way with these cartings and stuff. Somebody put something on Facebook the other day. Have you ever seen the White House logo? You know, jw.org logo. Have a look at what the White House logo looks like. Very interesting. Just a simple thing. You haven't seen it either.
I haven't seen it. No,
I'm going to show now. See,
you have to show me.
I know something.
I haven't got a
you
clue
don't
what
know.
she's talking about.
Have a look.
So.
Just go and have a look at what the White House logo is.
Oh well.
You'll be very interested.
Very interesting indeed.
But it just makes me like this whole thing has become a brand, and they'll wear cufflinks, they'll wear necklaces, and yet they criticise the cross. And they criticise things that what they call Christianity has done for years.
This is once again, this is me now being abstract in my mind thinking. But just another question for you: anybody seen those watches the governing body are wearing?
Bling!
Have you seen how expensive they are?
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
Hello, Mr. Rolex.
And there they are getting the little Sally to put her little pocket money.
She can't have an ice cream.
She can't have an ice cream, but then he's wearing a watches like they are wearing on these videos that they've been doing. And these rings.
Well, that's
and these cars that they're driving.
That ice cream money's bought that watch. That ice cream money's bought those rings.
Yeah.
That ice cream money, well, he's wearing it.
So you carry on, Jehovah's Witnesses, being completely drone,
and
carry on thinking and not having any critical thinking, but just keep reading those watchtowers.
Be like I was.
Yeah.
Be short attention span.
Take that last few pennies
asleep.
out of your
It's
wallet
fine
and your purse and put them into
to.
those contribution boxes that are going to the worldwide fund. Apparently, really. Okay, and just to see exactly what's happening, you are being fleeced left, right, and centre, and you can't see the pain that it's causing to yourself because you've had that taken away from you. It's a genius idea on how to control millions of people.
It's the most amazing way of bringing in money and saying it's for a good cause and charity, and yet people at the top are just accepting it, saying thank you very much, can we have more?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they're buying massively expensive cars, massively expensive living accommodation, etc. They get a lot of that money to spend on themselves, and
the world is waking up
idea.
now. The world's waking up to the real estate and the financial portfolios that they are creating for themselves within Watchtower, and people are asking, why are they doing that? Why are they? Good question, very good question. But let's leave it there.
Yeah.
Critically think. So your
attention span is much better than
now
it was.
Because look where we've gone with this video.
I'm not, but that's different because that isn't attention span. That's my mind going, oh, and this and this and this and this.
You see, now you're waving your finger around again. You know what that does with certain people out there.
Yeah, I'm going to touch my chin.
Yeah, and touching your chin and all that. Anyway, enough said, and have a good evening or a good day wherever you are in the world, and we'll speak again soon. Bye for now.
Bye.